You're just gonna live off heavy cream for 7 days? What about all the hormones and fucking chemicals and shit and fucking cows? You're gonna fucking die if you only eat fat. You're gonna have a grabber. You don't want a grabber. They suck. As I begin another phase of self-experimentation, with the ultimate goal of just seeing what happens. It could go either way. It's a couple months experiment that I'm going to do. But before I get into the what I'm doing and how I'm doing it going forward, I do want to put a bit of a disclaimer here because there are people that watch my shit and read my shit that follow along. They essentially do the shit. Sometimes not even in real time. Sometimes they'll start watching a series of experiment videos and they'll try the same thing. And I myself do not do this just off of one information source. I research and then I do some more fucking research. Then I look at people who've already done it, and see what they have to say, what their pitfalls are, things they did do, things they didn't do. And then I come up with a plan for myself that's tailored to what I want to do. I have not been on any medications for a long time. I did break my leg once and was on pain meds for a while. So I don't have to consider that. I don't have diabetes or even pre-diabetes anymore. I had pre-diabetes when I started this journey, but that's long since gone. I have been keto adapted for a while, and my weight normalized before I did my last experiment, which you just saw in the other. You can watch that in the other video that's right before this one and shit. So I am fat adapted. And it's important when doing what I'm about to do that you have already done that. Do not go from being a carb burner to doing a fat fast. It's just not. Fat fasting is for people who have already fat adapted. You've already done 4 to 6 weeks on a strict ketogenic diet, or even a liberal one if you're not as metabolically fucked up where you get up to 50 grams a day. But generally below 50 grams a day on carbs for 6 weeks without cheat days, without fucking off, because if you fuck off during that, you got to restart the clock. So you have to have done that first before you do any of this. And that is well documented as being perfectly great. It works fine for some people. For some people, they get to where they're going just from a long period of being on a ketogenic diet. They don't fast. They eat when they're hungry. They find themselves spontaneously intermittent fasting, 16 and 8-ish type protocol because you're just not hungry. And you're not going to be as hungry on a ketogenic diet because your hormones that regulate hunger do their job. You'll get hungry when you're, very physically active, and you won't be hungry when you're not. And your metabolism will also shift appropriately. This is the way we're supposed to work. So knowing how we're supposed to work is one of the things. Fat fasting is kind of a biohack, so to speak. It is manipulating the way your body works to get a desired result. Water fasting is fucking great. I mean, I definitely have done my fair share of water fasts. However, I find when I'm getting past or up into that 5-day range, I know my metabolism's slowing down. I know that I'm hungry. I know that I often am angry and miserable. And, I kind of want to, compare and contrast because I have used fat during a 36, 44-hour eating window with minimal, if any, impact on my results from the fast. So I want to take that idea and and apply it to a longer 7-day fasting type style. The way a juicer would do a juice fast, only I'm doing it with fat. And I want to know, does it work? I know I'll be in deep ketosis because you'll be turning the fat you eat into ketones. And then when you run out of that, you'll be burning your own fat for ketones to meet the energy requirements. It requires not eating a shit ton of fat either. Generally, I'm going to put fat in my coffee. I generally drink coffee 2 times during the day. And that's that. And, if I get hungry, I'll consume some fat if I physically feel hungry. Maybe even as simple as just downing some heavy cream or, some butter or something. I don't know. If I have electrolyte issues, I'll probably salt and melt some butter and eat that shit with a spoon. I know it sounds weird. I know it sounds fucked up, but I like butter, so that'll work. I'm not a big fan of coconut oil, so you won't be seeing me do any spoonfuls of that or anything. I'm not going crazy with the calories. It'll probably work out to 600 to 800 calories a day of pure fat. And that's what I'm planning on doing. And like I said, first of all, you should have a doctor monitor you if you have any health problems or you haven't locked in your nutrition, you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals, you're deficient in something, you should not do this. You need to be non-deficient going into this because you're going to be using some of the vitamins and minerals that are in your body, in various places to get through 7 days without taking any of that shit in. A lot of people supplement. I don't. Do it if you want. That's me. But the reason I want to do this, I want to see if this protocol works, if it's something I enjoy. Am I going to be miserable during it? Is it even worth it? Does this allow me some flexibility on the weeks that I eat to where I can just eat intuitively the whole week and not fast at all, or just fast spontaneously as many people on a ketogenic diet do? So I want to kind of experiment over the next few months with 7 days fat fasting followed by 7 days of normal intuitive ketogenic diet eating. That is in eating ketogenic when you are hungry. Not out of boredom, not out of, you're sitting in front of fucking Netflix and you need to be fucking stuffing shit in your face. Nothing like that. It's like, ooh, my stomach feels empty. I'm kind of hungry. I haven't eaten all day. Yeah, maybe it's time to have a meal. That's what I talk about in intuitive eating. It's not to be confused with dopamine activities and, going in and, out of boredom because you ain't got no other shit going on. You go into the fucking fridge and that'll lead to you, even on a ketogenic diet, overdoing it. If you force feed yourself, which is essentially what you're doing if you eat out of boredom or you get constant in these food social situations, you can still overeat. You'll get disgustingly full after a while. That happens. But at the same time, there's that little bit of gray area between, not being hungry and disgustingly full. And if you live in that gray area, you're going to overeat and gain weight on a ketogenic diet. So there are some mental things with eating that I do not discount when it comes to keto. Keto isn't the end-all, be-all. Be that as it may, why did I decide to try it this way? Well, I've heard a lot of the fasting mimicking diet pimped out by Dr. Walter Longo. He's a scientist who works for this company. I'm not going to name him, but you can find it. he focuses on longevity, not necessarily weight loss. However, if you want to do a fasting mimicking diet, you have to go to the website, go through a paywall to learn what the protocol is, and then order a product which contains everything you need for each fucking day, which generally you can figure out what the fuck they're doing there. They're giving you supplements, maybe some fucking vegetable shit, and a whole lot of fat. And, about 1,000 calories a day is what that diet advocates for 5 days a month. That's it. And, I've kind of melded that theory in with, I don't need the box of shit. I know I can do a water fast for 30 to 40 days without issue if I have enough body fat. So I don't really need to worry too much about the extra other macros. The other reason I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory, because protein turns off autophagy, even in small amounts. And if you are consuming protein with your fat, it's going to shut off one of the benefits of fasting, which is autophagy. And if you do a 5 to 7 day fast, autophagy ramps up. And I'm kind of curious if it still ramps up if you're eating the fat, as opposed to just burning your own fat for energy. Eating the fat does get you, it's like putting some fucking fuel in the fire, and then not having to add as much fuel to keep warm. That's the theory behind fat fasting, is it gets you into deep ketosis, not only from burning your own fat, but from burning the fat that you eat. And in theory, even though you are burning that fat first, that fire is hot and burning and ready to burn more fat. So when that fuel source runs out, i.e. the heavy cream's gone, it immediately targets your visceral fat, supposedly first. And that's been the target for me. So will that happen? Will the inches around the belly shrink in the 1 week? Will I get down to 35.25 or even 35 inches? Who knows? A couple months should be enough time to tell if it's going to trend in that direction, if it should be a longer term thing or a short term or just another tool for when something else isn't working. That's all things I want to explore with doing this. I am not a fan of Valter Longo, all right? I am not. And a lot of people who talk about the fasting mimicking diet, they're kind of, tiptoeing around the fact that, they're afraid. There's a lot of fear of fasting, a lot of fear in what happens when we go periods of time without nutrition. And I can understand that. We don't want anybody starving to death. We don't want people getting eating disorders. We don't want any malnutrition. I've always said that when you fast, when you do something like this fat fast, during the week you're eating, you should be eating nutrient-dense foods. Superfoods if you can. Whole foods. I'm not talking about processed shit. And you should be eating plenty of it. Feast should be feast. Fast should be fast. A lot of people get nervous when they break their fast and go into feast. I'm going to regain all the fucking weight. God damn it. What was that? What did I do all that for? And regain all the weight. You're going to regain some weight. It's going to happen no matter what protocol you do. When you eat, you gain weight. But it's not all fat that you're gaining. You cannot physically gain fucking 4 pounds in a day. You can't. It's 3,500-ish calories in a pound of fat. If you gain 4 pounds in a day and you subtract your BMR from that 3,500 pounds, think of how much fucking food you had to eat calorically to make that fat. So, it's not how it works. That's why I'm sick to death of the calories in, calories out, paradigm. Weight is gained on multiple levels. Food weight, fat weight, shit weight. There's all kinds of weight you're carrying around when you're consuming. All that weight goes away during a long fast. You flush all your water weight out in the first 3 days. You eventually shit, and boy do you shit. Like sometimes you can't control how quickly you got to run to the bowl. That usually happens around day 4 or 5. You're going to have almost an uncontrollable bowel movement, and you might shart or something, not to be fucking too gross, but mark it on your list of shit to do if you're doing a long fast. Don't be too far from a bowl, because you might need it. And really sucks when you're a truck driver and you have to do that. Just saying. Once all of that flushes out, it stands to reason when you conclude the fast that you're going to regain all of that weight that you dumped off. So you can't just at the end of the fast see that you lost this such and such weight and be like, yay, goal reached. Because it's going to come back over the next week or two, if not sooner, depending on how you broke your fast, whether or not you're being keto is a big thing. If you're going from a long fast or a fat fast into a carb burning situation to where you're eating carbs and sugar and shit, you're going to regain weight alarmingly quick, and definitely you're going to exceed your starting weight over the long term, as I've found and discovered in the past. Another thing that happens on a water fast that I'm not sure if it happens on a fat fast. It's very hard to find a lot of data on this because fat's been so taboo for so long. Not a lot of people been fucking doing this or trying this kind of shit. But I couldn't really find any research to indicate if our metabolism shifts from just consuming fat. I know if you consume a low-calorie diet that consists of protein and carbs, in the mix, as in you're a sugar burner and you go 800 to 1,000 calories a day, without question, your metabolism will fall and stay down for a while, and really that is a sugar burner problem. If you are not fat adapted, that is a serious issue. Not to say during keto you don't get a slight metabolism shift, but I emphasize slight there. As I saw with this last week where I went from ADF keto to 4-hour eating every day keto, I did regain a little bit of weight. So there is a slight metabolism shift. I would argue it's transient, that over time, if you stick to a certain way of eating keto, your weight will plateau to where you won't gain over a certain amount and you won't fall under a certain amount. And that's honestly where we want to be for health. We want to be balanced. The problem is a lot of us, we fucked up and we got fat as fuck. So now we want to fix it. So we double down on calories, getting them down, fasting long periods of time, doing fucked up diets and shit. And we tank our metabolisms. We spend hours in the gym, and we do all of this shit pretty much spinning our wheels, because the minute we stop doing that shit, our body rebounds, we regain the weight, and then we get back. It's, crash dieting 101. Your weight starts creeping back. Oh, fuck, got to double down on this. And that is the cycle I feel I've broken. I'm not really doubling down anymore. I don't think I can, other than doing a 30-day fast, which would be the equivalent of doubling down for me. I've found I'm pretty close to my goal, if not over. I've pretty much reached it at 36 inches. I'd like to be hovering at 35, to be honest, so that when I do have my 1-inch deviations, that they don't exceed 36 like they did today with 36.25. So it's about getting the weight that you've put on over the years gone and then staying at your healthy level. I have no doubt I'm healthier now than I was. I want to stay that way. I want to also have tools to make that happen, that I can cycle in and out based on my individual needs. Maybe I'm broke as fuck and only eating a couple weeks out of the month is a good way to save some fucking money, wouldn't you say? If I can get by on spending $10-15 on some fucking heavy cream for, 1 week and then eating what the fuck I want the next week, and I survive and I'm healthy like that, maybe that's a thing. Like I said, it's the same principle with 36 ADF. I'm only eating half the month. It's just, that's spread out more, whereas this would be like compressing the fasting and the feasting into different parts. Does it work the same? Don't know. These are questions I want to answer for myself, and I'm sharing this with you guys to share it as well. I'm not saying this is the answer. I will give you my thoughts on it a couple months from now, and also as I go, you can follow my progress on ScottTheTruckDriver.com in my blog. I will, Monday through Friday, I post a blog. You'll see my daily measurements there, how long, I've been fasted for, and you'll see that fast number climbing as time goes forward. So it is what it is. I consumed my last meal at 5:30 on Sunday. So for those of you keeping score, that's about where we're at. So far, no issues. Of course, it's only day 1. I'm not anticipating any issues till day 3. So it's probably not going to be a lot to talk about as far as results and what I'm doing and how I'm feeling. I know I'm going to be pissing like a beast in another day or two. And there's probably a bowl trip in my future because I haven't had one of those in a few days. So it is what it is. But remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just a fucking asshole. And shit. Be careful if you do this with me, That's it. That's all I want to get that across. I shouldn't be the end product or the only inspiration of you to do these things. I'm here to inspire you to learn about these things, to go out there and look at the science and look at the data and all of that on your own, not always just spoon feeding you links and all of that. I do bring links up here and there, but ultimately we all know how to Google shit. And it's important to Google shit if you want to learn shit, even though that does empower Google a lot, but that's another conversation. Do your homework. There's plenty. All of the knowledge is out there on these things. Although I will say, in researching fat fasting, there wasn't a lot to it. And in case you're wondering, has this been done before? This fat fasting thing came into play in Dr. Atkins' New Revolution for a New You, whatever fuck book that was. And it was used as a small 5-day tool to break plateaus for people that do plateau on a ketogenic diet, or in his version of the ketogenic diet. It used to be not is ketogenic. There used to be less fat emphasis and more protein emphasis. But ultimately, it was in that book where the concept of fat fasting became introduced. And because, like I said, it's been so taboo, there are a lot of people who are just afraid to do it. They're afraid of saturated fat. Like a vegan would look at what I'm doing and take a complete shit on my face. They don't want nothing to do with this. Nobody wants to, to really just say fat is okay nowadays. And it's like we're crowbarring people into doing it. It's becoming a little more mainstream. You're starting to hear fat is okay, and some guidelines have been changes, and some countries have just said, fucking, we're keto and shit. Where's the butter? Give me the fucking butter. What do you mean there's no butter? What do you mean butter's more expensive? What do you mean we drove up the price of butter? This is bullshit. Fuck! Now you can see one of the rabbit holes we could end up in if everybody went keto. Just as a side note, I noticed pecans were like $14 for a small bag now. So you guys need to stop eating pecans so that I can fucking have them, all right? So no pecans on my diet from now on. That's it for this, I'll be doing interim report, probably once a week I'll put out a video on where I'm at. But if you really want to follow the day-to-day progress and things that, I'm feeling, experiencing, noticing, things that jump out at me, check it out, ScottTheTruckDriver.com, my blog. Link is in the description below. If you found this fucking video helpful and you want me to spend more time making more videos and shit and going, live and doing all this content production, including writing that fucking blog, and you want me to be able to not have to go to do Uber and other shit, there's a tip jar. Also a link in the description where you can drop a few bucks and kind of, help keep this going forward. As a side note, figured now is a good time to mention, Patreon is still there. They decided to no longer fuck people with the fees. However, it's left me wondering what they're still going to do, because they have indicated they will still be doing something. If you are contributing through Patreon currently, I still communicate with you there if you comment or if you message me. However, the bulk of everything has moved over to ScottTheTruckDriver.com. So basically, if you're contributing through Patreon, you're just contributing so that I continue to make content. You're essentially donating. There's no reward tiers anymore on Patreon. Any rewards will be a la carte on ScottTheTruckDriver.com. That being said, I do have reward plans in the works. There will be an early access page that you could buy into every month. And I'll probably have to figure that out to where you only, can buy into it the first 2 weeks of the month. So that way you don't buy in on the last week of the month. You only see like 1 or 2 sneak previews, and then you have to buy the password for the next month. So there's that. I realize people could share the password and fuck all that up, but it is what it is. It's a way of supporting the channel and getting a reward for doing so for people who legit want to support the channel. I understand that the links could get passed around and there is that, but that's all I can think of for right now as far as a pseudo subscription based reward that basically you would do your donation, you'd get the password for the sneak preview page and get to watch videos ad-free for a couple 3 days at a time before they go to YouTube. Or you can just wait on YouTube and watch the ads and deal with all of that. So that's one of the options I'm working on. I'm also working on a researcher page. A lot of people like to pass me articles and get my thoughts on things and see where I'm at. I want to put together a resource or a page where we can do that. I'm not guaranteeing I'll be especially if it gets slammed with a ton of articles. But if I use a submission that, something you pointed me at, I will credit you in any videos that I make as being the person that turned me on to said article or research, along with whoever the article or research came from. A lot of that happens organically right now in the comments, but it's kind of disjointed. I may or may not see it on time to be topical. This way, I will have a page where you'll be able to, get credited for finding that research and so on and so forth. And if I find, that useful in the process of coming up with a video and, it gets me talking or gets me thinking about a topic or trying something like a fat fast like I'm doing now, then I'll make sure that you get the appropriate amount of credit for your contribution to the research page. So that'll be late next month. Early next month, I plan on rolling out, probably around January 3rd or so, I'll be rolling out the first reward on ScottTheTruckDriver.com, which will be, something that you can just donate a couple bucks and get a password to early access for the video. That's it. I'm not looking for a huge, bank doing that. I'm just saying if you want to contribute and get the videos a little bit quicker and get them without ads, that'll be one of the things we can do. Eventually, the videos will be up on YouTube. I'm thinking about a 2 to 3 day window before they get to YouTube. So that's what I'm looking at on Scott the Truck Driver. Might put exclusive content at some point, some paywall shit on Scott the Truck Driver, but that will only be above and beyond my existing content production for the YouTube channel. YouTube channel is a priority. It's where we want the most, but I do want to have some things on the website that are, of value that, so you're not just throwing money in the tip jar and then that's it. I'd like to have some things that you can get or order or appreciate within that store to help support the channel going forward and getting something in return aside from me producing more content or something, if that makes sense. So that's all stuff that's in the works. It's a lot of work, so I'll make sure to keep cranking on that so that we can start rolling this shit out in the new year. Well, that's it. Wish me luck. And there is always the chance I could fail on this fast or for one reason or another end it and decide not to do it. I'll let you know if that happens. I'm not ruling it out because if I don't feel good or if I, start experiencing electrolyte problems or any other problems that I feel would complicate things or make the fast not worth doing, then I will, of course, end the fast. And you should too if you're doing something like this. Never push through if you feel like a complete bag of shit, because there's a reason that you're feeling like a complete bag of shit, and you need to address when that happens, including breaking the fast if it happens. If you feel crappy, chances are you're missing something. You're not getting your electrolytes properly. You might have been nutrition deficient going into this. There might be something you're lacking that you need that you haven't stored up much of during your feast window, or you ate completely unhealthy during your feast window, which will make you feel like dog shit during a fast as well. End the fast if you feel like shit. Like bag of shit. You'll know. You won't want to do nothing. You'll be really low energy. You'll know when your metabolism drops. That might also be a concern. Generally, that concern happens in the 4 to 5 to 6 day range on a water fast. Not sure if that's the same on a fat fast. Time will tell. But the good news is if you're coming back and you refeed ketogenically, your metabolism will shift back up. If you come back and you switch to being a carb burner from being a fat burner, it'll take a while for your metabolism to switch up. And I guarantee you're gaining a shit ton of weight during the time when your BMR is down from your metabolic rate dropping. So that's all that. Please like and subscribe for more shit. And I'll make more shit and shit. Have a nice motherfucking day. And shit.